So, what will happen to Chris Watts in prison is a question I get asked a lot. Why isn't anything happening? I understand how angry people are at seeing this evil piece of shit walk this earth after what he did to those beautiful, beautiful little girls, his wife who was pregnant, just all around demon from hell. Well, let's look at Robert Pinkton, the Pig Palace serial killer, one of the most notorious serial killers in North America. Killed over 49 women, raped them, mutilated, tortured them, and they say some prominent people were involved with the whole situation. So after 20 years, the Pig Palace serial killer, who has just destroyed so many lives, was living his days in a protective unit, and an accident occurred. Somehow an inmate got in the cell, beat him to death, impaled him, stabbed him, kicked his face in. Boiling water, everything you could think of. Tortured him to death. The same way he did his victims is the same way he exited the world, because he was just taken off life support as of last night. The law of the land, right? People can say it's barbaric and brutal, but what do you think all those young women that he tortured, raped, and set up to be slaughtered were feeling? At least some justice was done, and he didn't just live out his life in a prison cell. You could take it how you want, but reality is reality. Imagine if, God forbid, that was somebody in your family. The system failed those girls that he murdered. Nobody was even looking into it. It was too many high elites. It was a weird situation going on. Then you have a piece of shit like Chris Watts. If an inmate can wait 20 years and kill you in protective custody, imagine what can happen to this coward, demonic piece of shit. And I know a lot of times people say, oh, nothing will happen. But look at the I-5 serial killer, beaten to death. Look at Billy Chamarmar, just last year in Texas. The guy who raped and murdered over 20 elderly women was beaten to death in his cell. You have Paul Flores, the guy who killed the beautiful young lady Kristen Smart. He's been stabbed multiple times in multiple different prisons. You go all the way back to Jeffrey Dahmer getting beat to death in prison. The point I'm making is that it's all about opportunity. So the way Chris Watts lives his life is his food is being poisoned. He's being tortured. And what happens a lot of time to people as evil as him is they'll find out where your family lives. And at first, they extort you to make memorabilia because there's sick fucks out there that are obsessed with this type of demonic evil. But then time goes by, family members die, and they're not able to reach out to every law enforcement, lawyers, and you're in there by yourself. And that's when the accidents happen. When you don't mention his name, he dies. So just as a convict's waited 20 years to finally torture and beat to death the most heinous, disgusting, demonic motherfucker, Robert Pinkton, what do you think will happen to Chris Watts? His family will keep paying the money and paying for his safety, but eventually family members die. Eventually, his name dies. And when his name dies, like I said before, he dies. Because one thing we're all in agreement with, regardless of the politics, racial lines, you don't fuck with kids or women, you don't rape, none of that shit. Stay out, stay free, us.